Hi! The title of this video is 32 Years and Counting, and then after failures. But the reason for this video is because I have decided that the most important thing in life is relationships. Nothing else, for me, nothing else competes with relationships. And I'm not just talking about relationships with people. You can have all kinds of relationships. But in general, the relationships that work for you are going to help you to find the right person or persons to be with in a relationship. And a relationship is not necessarily two people either. It may be 3 or 4 or 6 or 10. It depends on what your goal is, what you're looking for. Are you trying to create a community? Are you trying to create a family? Are you trying to create a business? There are so many different things that can be put together and destroyed by relationship. I've seen so many examples, being clergy, who just have so many things come to you that you can't believe it. And I saw it in my own family too. My parents knew each other only 28 days before they married, and they didn't have some of the modern tools that we have now. I would always recommend Myers-Briggs. Myers-Briggs is a personality assessment. It gives you a lot of insight into where you are then, not necessarily your lifetime, because we do have changes. The only thing we can count on in life is change. It's the only thing we can count on. Like, let's take example, the price of gold. I was in my 20s when I was making jewelry, and gold was $32 an ounce. Gold now is $4,000, maybe $5,000. I don't know. It vacillates, but it's changed. That's the only thing you can count on. The weather has changed. The politics have changed. The technology has changed. 1900, we had the telegraph and the train. And year 2000, good heavens. I mean, everybody had a cell phone. Everybody was connected to the internet. Most people had a computer. I mean, the changes that have occurred, especially among people, and the changes that have occurred among animals, of course, have been devastating. They just don't have the room that they used to have to be able to do what they need to do. For example, breeding. Breeding is the most important aspect of sustainability. If you can't breed, you can't keep your whatever alive. I mean, if you're a dog, you can't keep your line of dogs alive. If you're a human, you can't have heritage. So those things have to be in order. But as far as a relationship, even in work, I mean, now when you go for a job, they give you a personality test. I mean, we never had that sort of thing before, but they do help, and they do make a lot of sense. I worked for Dr. Raymond B. Cattell for some time. I knew him for several years, and he designed the 16PF, the personality assessment. That helps too. Just like the Myers-Briggs, it's a scientific assessment. I also like to look at astrology, but I'm a lot more skeptical than I used to be, because it's not as straightforward. It's so, I mean, AI, everything's involved in it now, and some astrologers are very good and very thorough, and others don't have the training. So there's just a lot of things to look at, and looking at your own history can be, and your passions. Both of those can be a big help. What kind of house did you live in as a child? Which one? If you lived in several, I lived in 30 as a child. Which one made you feel the most comfortable? When did you feel like you were really at home? What kind of land? Did you have did you have the land around a trailer, or did you have a sprawling farm? Think about those kinds of things. What kinds of things do you do over the course of the day? When do you get up? When do you go to bed? Do you like a dark room or a light room? Do you like a big space or a small space? Those little details, believe me, they count up. And how much are you willing to compromise without giving up who you are? Boy, that's a big question. That is a big question, especially for females, because from time events, we've been put in a position where we're supposed to be the submissive one, the one who takes care of things and doesn't say anything, barefoot and pregnant, that sort of thing. But my parents, I looked at my parents, and they only knew each other for 28 days. They did a lot of arguing. They were very, very unhappy. They wanted to give birth to 6 tall sons. They had me after 6 years before I was born. And then she had a boy, and he was dead in 4 days because her blood wasn't right. It was incompatible with my father's. And they never had anything really in common. She was a Lutheran with Lutheran ministers in the family. Father's family came from Poland. He was actually born in the United States, but they came from Poland. Having a child die, it's a massive problem. And there was really no passionate reason for them to get together, and no things in common. My mother had just finished nursing school. My father was in the Army Air Corps. It was just, he was good looking and she was tall. Okay, got it. Now, with my husband of 32 years, I am passionate about the fact that he was in the military. I am understanding about the fact that he came back from the Vietnam War with PTSD. As did my uncle, as did my father from the Korean War. Uncle was in Vietnam War. What does that have to do with anything? Well, I was a military brat at the highest level. I mean, really, most military brats that I know, they only moved every couple of years. I actually moved 22 times in 2 years. 22 times in 22 months, my father had assignments to move. We lived one place, we got there one day, we lived the next day when we got orders to go out the next day. I mean, it was a crazy situation. They made a movie about General Curtis LeMay, my father's boss. They called it Dr. Strangelove. So if you come from a military background, it could be a passion. With me, it was. I adored my father. I hardly ever saw him because he was always away, but when I did see him, it was quality time, I gotta tell you. He'd get me up at 4:30 in the morning and we'd go fishing, and he'd tell the guy we were getting the shrimp from, Jackie's my only boy. My only son, I'm sorry, he called me a son. And it was also his little alien, because I was born in Roswell, New Mexico in 1947. And he saw this stuff on the ground that was not a weather balloon. He told me, he was so honest with me, and my mother lied to me all the time. I mean, I knew she was lying to me, and it was, and she was horribly abusive, physically, mentally, and emotionally, and sexually. And so I admired my father so much. I did all the ironing of his shirts and made sure the creases were right, and I cut his hair. You know, we fished together a lot. We set up the camping equipment together. We camped a great deal. Dad didn't spend the money for hotels. When Dad was sick, I was devastated. When Mother was sick, I thought it was normal. She was always sick. She was a very, 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 very unhappy person, and always drunk too. So you look at those things and you begin to put pieces together. Now I have lots of other friends. When there's been a death in the family, especially a child, it rattles people to the core. When there's been moves, it can be rattling. If he gives into what she likes, which is usually the case. You know, they say, if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. Well, that's true, because the woman is the one who takes care of the house. In Mexico, in fact, the woman has complete control over the home, but the man can pretty much do what he wants outside the home. And you typically have lovers and other thing, and no responsibility regarding what the money, how money is spent or anything like that. That's another thing. You know, what kind of arrangements do you have about money? Are you able to talk to somebody, truly talk to somebody about what's important to you, what really matters to you? What about drinking or drugs or anything like that? Is that a challenge? I mean, you have to look at all these different pieces before you have any idea if it's going to work. I mean, when we met, we didn't expect to be together very long. I had rheumatic fever. The prognosis was death between 35 and 50. I was 48. My husband has been exposed to Agent Orange over a 4-year period, and his expectation statistically was 58, and he was 58. And so, you know, 56. I'm sorry, he was 56, and it was 2 years. And so he's 85 now. It's strange, but on the other hand, if you ask him, he'd say, well, the only reason I'm alive is because of Jackie, what she's done. Well, what I've done is I've really focused on organic, fresh food for him. Fresh food, clean water, clean air, everything I could possibly do to make sure that he had as natural as possible access to foods, because that can really be a problem, you know, when they're giving your lover, your friend, your spouse. At one point, they had him on 12 medications every day. You know, you have to really think that kind of thing through. How much of a caregiver can you be, or how much do you want to be cared for? For me, it was easy. It was really simple. I've always been attracted to men who are taller than me and smarter. Yep. It's just I want an intellectually stimulating partner, and I don't care what their education is. Well, I assume they would finish high school, but are they smarter? Can they philosophically look at the world? Can they analyze what's going on with absolute detachment, or are they super like someone who was a evangelical Christian probably couldn't analyze what's going on today without some bias, and that's part of what I didn't want, was someone who was going to be biased about things, because I feel like the world that we face now, of course, today is so unprecedented, it's not even funny, but the world we face is so complicated. Our day-to-day thoughts and fears and so forth are so complicated that money changes its value, and places, and do you want to be on a farm? Do you want to be in the big city? Big decisions. Do you want to go out to dinner for most of your meals? Do you want to eat at home? Do you like to preserve food and really get into it and grow it and so forth, or do you want to just live next door to a grocery store? My husband literally has had all those experiences. Do you want to live in the United States? I mean, you know, those are big questions. And if you work those out with whoever your relationship is, and like I said, it can be business, it can be marriage, it can be so many different things. And what about kids? Does he have kids? Do you have kids? Are they still in the house? Are they grown? What are your dreams for retirement? How do you see your life going? What's your bucket list look like? I mean, there are so many areas, not just your physical attraction. There are so many areas that you could look at and analyze and decide, can I give up what I want without resentment? Those things are a big deal. When you feel resentful, you're not going to be happy in a relationship. And again, I don't care whether it's a marriage or a village or business. It really doesn't matter. And in fact, on that note, I've known a number of people in polyamory relationships where there's a group of people who have chosen to have sexual relationships with other people at all kinds of levels of emotional attachment. For my husband, he was always very much a good-looking man in a uniform, and he never had a problem at all with finding a companion. And so much for him, it really didn't matter too much about, well, he liked little tiny petite women. Now, that didn't happen. I'm not petite. And for whatever reason, I don't know, I'm not absolutely sure even to this day why he ended up with me, but he had tall women in his life too, so maybe that was it. I don't know. But what's important now, what's important as old adults is the friendship, which I know you've heard before. You've heard that from lots of people. But for us, it has to do with intelligence. So I think there's a real connection there that you need to look at. Can I say to him, so-and-so is working with such and such, and they've decided to bomb Ethiopia? What do you think? Well, now, that's not an easy question. Number one, has anybody ever bombed Ethiopia? Does Ethiopia even have bombs? And do they have anything, any resources? What are the people like? I mean, all these questions have to be put together. And why is someone bombing? Who are they that are doing the bombing? And why? Why would they do it for? Are there natural resources? You need to have someone who is with you on what the world is about. Now, for my husband, he's almost circumvented the entire world. My father did. On the International Geophysical Year, he circled the entire globe. So when people have had that kind of background, do they speak another language? Do they speak the same language you do? Of course, religion, we've mentioned that already, but there are so many aspects that seem like they couldn't work, but sometimes they do, and you have to ask yourself, why does this come together? And then what happens if they have kids and then they decide to split? Can they share the same home? Is it that kind of a relationship, or have it deteriorated to the point that they can't even stand to talk to each other, let alone share custody? There are so many considerations that most people don't put together. My husband is able to freely talk about his past relationships and why he thinks they did or did not work. The first one, it's very clear because he just finished school and he was going off to become an officer. Just like my parents, there was a war, a war going on. If you let the outside world determine how your personal life comes together, that's probably not wise. So it might make more sense to think it through. That's why I'm giving you so many different outlets. Does he appreciate dogs or cats? Could you have any of those? Can they be in the house or only outside? I found that so fascinating. I go to tell you, I'm a dog freak. I am such a dog freak, and he loves cats. He just adores cats. He likes dogs, but he's crazy about cats. Okay, so what's the deal? Well, those are complicated. In Mexico, nobody lets a dog in the house. My dog sleeps in the bed. Always has. I've always had a dog in the bed. It's just the way it is. Are you going to both sleep in the same bed? That's another question. In Ecuador, no dogs in the house. Why? I don't know. I don't know. They're a tool. They're not a companion. So what I'm saying is that you can have what you want if you are willing to know what is really important to you. For me, there's the cat. Do you see the cat? That's a cat right there. That's Muffin. Martalina in Spanish. She's an indoor-outdoor cat. That's another question. Is it okay for your cat to go outside if you have a cat? Or my daughter and her husband, oh my God, they never let their cats outside, ever, under any circumstances. Okay, Martalina goes in and out all the time. That's the way she can. Now I go looking for her to bring her in at night, because I don't think she should be subjected to whatever might be out at night, even though we live on an enormous piece of land. Well, enormous to me, 5 acres, I think, or something like that. Anyway, there's just so many things that can interfere. I work a lot with people who are trying to recover from something. Most of the people, it's either drugs or alcohol or both. A lot of them, it's trauma, a lot of gambling, taking prescription drugs, abusing food. There's just so many things. Unlimited shopping. Money is a big issue between two people. And when you put it all together, how do you figure out if you're ever going to make it work? Well, for one thing, don't hurry. Really don't hurry. We were together, I think 3 years before we made a decision. And I don't see anything wrong with that in the modern world. I mean, the modern world has evolved a great deal. We're not living in an indigenous community where you've known the person your entire life and you know the family and all that. A lot of people marry and they don't even know the correct name of the person. You know, what I'm trying to say is, I don't care whether it's marriage or business or a community that you're putting together, an intentional community. What matters is, have you looked at, can you get along? Do you have some of the things that make it possible to adapt without giving up who you are? And I don't mean that you don't adapt and give up some things. It's just don't give up who you are. What are your core values? What can you not let go? What would make you feel empty if it was out of your life? I would feel empty if someone said I had to stay up every night till 11 o'clock. I would feel like I was horribly abused. I want to make a decision between 8 and 10. I mean, that's how I feel. And sometimes I go to bed before 8. You know, it's just, and I need to not be judged. Judgmental is a huge thing. Recognizing that the other person is precious. Going up to them from time to time and just touching them like they were a rare stone or a rare animal or whatever it is that values you, a rare fruit or vegetable or flower. That makes a big difference. Being able to recognize what the other person needs, what empowers them, what makes them feel priceless. And they need to do the same to you. If that doesn't happen, business, community, partnership, it's not going to work. And also, if it is a partnership, can you decide on marriage or not? That's a big deal. And why? Why would you do it? Health insurance? Because you live in an area where if one person's in the hospital, the other person can't be there unless you're married. What about wills? What about estates? Again, children, family. So many questions. It's so complicated. And if you don't solve them before you have a relationship, it's harder to do it after. So I hope this just jiggled a little bit of that gray matter around and gave you some things to look at, because some of the oddest couples go together and everything works. In fact, I mentioned the Myers-Briggs personality assessment early on, and I have a friend whose daughter used that, and she flew to Uganda to meet the man, and he proposed within a couple of months. Now, what is funny about that? Well, the young, Caucasian, blonde, blue-eyed, fully sustainable. She'd been a court reporter for years and was fully capable of taking care of herself financially. The man, at the time she met him, was in China in school studying for his degree, his college degree, and he was from Uganda. He was black, of course, because he's born in Uganda. His family lives in Uganda. He spoke English, but his family did not. You wouldn't think that would work. Now they have a child. They've been together about 4 years, and they seem to be happy as clams, living in Uganda. Blonde, blue-eyed is living in Uganda when everybody else looks different. So you just never know. You never know what is going to work. And look at the Vice President of the United States right now is married to, and my understanding is his third marriage. Maybe that's a rumor. But anyway, she is not Christian, and she's not white. And yet, with all the scrutiny that any politician goes through, but especially at that level, I mean, I don't know how the two of them can take it, but they have worked something out. You know, who knows? Maybe you need to ask them. And that's not a bad question at all. Go around, talk to people. Talk to people who've been able to hold it together, if holding it together is important to you. I will tell you, pretty tough to find somebody to live with when you're 80. When you're 80 and you're disabled, tough. So you might want to plan for that. Now, we didn't plan for any retirement because we both didn't think we'd make it. So that hasn't been easy either. Those are things you need to question. But the main thing I'm trying to tell you is don't hesitate to look deeply and ask a wide variety of questions of yourself and of the other folks. Oh, and I started to mention polyamory. Polyamory is very tough too, because you have to overcome a whole bunch of modern standards. Ugh. So think hard. Think hard about what you want in your life. What would make you comfortable? How do you want to raise children if you want children, if you don't want children, if you want pets, if you don't want pets, if you want an education or you don't want an education. Think about all those things, because, boy, they can come to burn you in the butt later. And then, so often, your life's almost over, because when you're a kid, Christmas to Christmas is forever. When you're an adult, you feel like you just licked the last stamp on the Christmas card before the next Christmas is coming. So keep that in mind too, okay? If you have a question, leave it down below. I'll be glad to answer it. And if you'd like to meet with me on Zoom, I'm up for that too. Thank you so much.